time for the Revelstoke Mayor Report with The Undertaker, Mayor Gary Soul.
Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Sean. I think I need to take up wrestling or something.
I know, I entertain myself with all these little vignettes that I do. So, so how's Gary doing?
Good. Just trying to fight off that cold.
Yeah, that's a fun one spreading around.
Yeah.
Jack's got borderline pneumonia, and a bunch of his little buddies were really sick. So for those, wash your hands at the end of the day. Double wash them.
Absolutely.
Holy smokes, it hasn't been a fun week. So you had an interesting article that was all over town. The big brand that came up and did that interesting write-up about our little community. So to make provincial news about our housing, our housing market here in our community, that's something.
Yeah, they were interested in how the assessments are going to play out in the community and how it's going to affect the community. And so they're going around to communities where there's been these sorts of changes, but also wherever there's been new mayors. They want to go to communities and talk about the issues.
Oh, interesting. Why did they? Well, I guess there'd be a lot of new mayors, but why would they pick the new mayors? I'm just curious.
Didn't indicate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the write-up was interesting, and when they show it to you, we all know because we live here, we get our assessments. But when you look at it, the breakdown, where the lines run, you're like, holy crow, in comparison to others.
Right.
It just seems even more than what we already know it is, because you see, oh, wow, Kelowna wasn't that much, or Vancouver or Surrey or wherever wasn't as much. And then you look at us and you're like, holy, we're just, whew, we're like a dairy allergy right off the charts. So.
Yeah. So when it comes down to assessments, they kind of look at what the market values are, and they try to balance them out. So we see that increase in assessments, and we see that market value, and try to get the norm sort of thing. And I can't explain how the assessment people do it, because every time
there's a science to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've all learned that the BC assessment and then what the market value is are different. The market sets the value, so it's a fun experience. So what else is coming up? I saw a breakdown on the Revelstoke community page from our counselors about what's coming up from committee of the whole and into the last council meeting that you guys had in regards to the budget, that there was a wishful thinking of maybe taxes being at 3%, not 5%. So where are we at with budget?
Well, we're just in the middle of talking about the basics of budget. So we've done the core budget, which means keeping the services that we have had. Staff have come to us and said we need 3% to keep those services at the same rate that we're at and still allow us to do everything. Council has put or committee of the whole has put a suggestion forward to council that we do that at 2% instead of 3%, and try and find some efficiencies and maybe not put so much into reserves. And then yesterday we met, and the same thing. We were talking about some of the capital projects and whatnot, and there was an ask of 2%, and deliberations and whatnot went through the afternoon, and council had set basically 1%, not putting so much towards maybe some of the reserves going forward, but we'll let staff deal with that. So instead of 2%, 1% there. And again, that is a suggestion from committee of whole, which is the council, to a formal council meeting, and we'll go. And now we've got one more step where we talk about the asks and what we need for different departments and whatnot, go through, and then we'll put it out to the public as a suggested draft form.
Now, wasn't one of the capital projects that for the roundabout we were going to actually take Jeff Battersby, Mark McKee, David Raven, Shelby Harvey, even Big G, Don Gillespie Sr. We were just going to dip them in bronze them and just they were going to be sort of displayed out there. Actually, them taking them and dipping them in like a 1980s shoe for memorabilia. That's what I was thinking.
I'd be careful walking on the street if you see one of them now.
Right. What were some of the capital projects that did make the list, or was there nothing specific yet?
Well, there's lots of things coming forward, but we didn't scratch any specific things off the list. So when we go through some of these asks as we go forward, we'll look at some of those things and whatnot. But basically, it's our management team will look at the things, and they have a rating as to which projects are mandatory or necessities, and they'll decide what should go forward.
Do we have any more news on the Townley Roundley? That's what I'm going to call it, by the way.
The town what?
The Townley Roundley. So the roundabout on Townley.
Well, we're hoping we're just working through the final stages of getting everything in order for that, and I'm hoping at some time this year we're going to get into the ground, but I don't have a date.
Right. I think that was again about purchase price and all that other fun stuff.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm sure that'll come to us at a cost that will be a fun conversation in the Revelstoke community Facebook page. I'm certain of it.
Absolutely.
Is there anything coming up in this month that is going to be, well, everything's important, so don't get me wrong, but, especially important for locals to keep their eyes out on that you can think of?
Well, we're just going to continue to go through the budget process as committee of the whole. We've got lots of meetings set up and going through that whole process. Council's new, so understanding how it works is a big thing. So we've set up a fair amount of meetings with that. Same thing with CSRD. I sit on that board. We're going through the budget process on that and start into the strategic planning as well. We hope to be starting into our strategic planning in the next month or two, but we're still waiting for dates to be confirmed on those sorts of things. So there's lots of things, on the horizon, and we're looking forward to.
Committee of the Whole seems to be a really good preliminary meeting to the council meeting, because if I'm reading this correctly or understanding it, when you're there, you guys are talking informally, and then you guys will make a suggestion to council, even though it's you guys talking about it, to then further discuss it with a little bit more clarity before you go into the council meeting. It seems like it works better. I don't know when it started, but
that's the intention of it. In previous council, we had switched from everybody having their own portfolios to committee of the whole, and that seemed to work well. And it helps define things where we all hear the same story from the managers at the same time, rather than sending a council member off to a separate meeting and then having them bring back their interpretation of that meeting. So it works well. It frees up a lot of staff time. It frees up councillors' time. And it works well having those preliminary conversations and discussing that.
And also, Revelstoke is going to be rebranded now in terms of our tourism/marketing. And you'll probably notice, I'm not sure when, but signs will be put up probably in spring, I would think.
Yeah, I think they're working towards that. They've got the brand now. It's Revelstoke with the square period behind it, and it's based on history and a sign that was made for the CPR building. It's a great way that they've done things. So they're going to see that branding. We're going to see that on wayfinding signs as well. So it's a good thing going forward.
So you'll notice that the red bloop blob thing, that'll be coming down. The old historical Stein design will be popping back up. There's some viral videos that the chamber has shared. It's been shared around through Facebook and whatnot.
Yeah.
You'll see it. So, all right, Gary. Well, thanks for popping in for this week's Mayor Report.
Thank you so much, Sean.